Welcome to the Legacy Through Land podcast, where we're dedicated to empowering you on your journey to land ownership and management. I'm Tyler Markham, your host, and each week we'll dive deep into the world of land investing, management strategies, and the transformative experiences tied to owning your very own piece of dream dirt. With our expert guests, inspiring stories, and actionable advice, we're committed to helping you become a better land manager, hone your investing skills, and start building your family's legacy through land. Now, let's dive into this week's episode. We hope you'll enjoy. All right. I literally had to stop Slade, and I have to stop myself because we were already jumping into the fun topics before we even started recording. So I can tell you today is going to be a good one. I think we arguably have, quote, the man from the South who knows some dirt. I think he's been doing this for a minute. So Slade, thank you for being on here.
Thank you for having me, man. I look forward to it.
We got a bunch of topics that I think we're going to get to buzz with, but kind of high level view here, just 10,000 foot view of what I would love to talk through today is I always love getting to know the guests. I always love getting to know the story. I love hearing people's story and just kind of their journey that leads them to today. So if our listeners have no clue who Slade is, and you don't often get the chance probably to talk through this, who is Slade and how did you get to where you're at today?
Well, first of all, I'm Slade Priest. They call me the hunting land man, and I actually did not come up with that. But first of all, I'm a Christian father. I got 3 kids, 13, 7, and 4, and I hesitate a little bit because all their birthdays are happening right now. And then I have a beautiful wife, Lori, and we're just living the dream every day, man. If you would have asked me at 15 years old, what would be your dream, and you showed me a video of what I'm doing today, I'd be like, grand slam, home run.
Yeah. Amen, dude. When I was watching some of Slade's stuff, it was like abundantly clear that Slade is farther along in the journey of what I have embarked on, that I will say the exact same thing, Slade. I have to pinch myself when God and I are talking and I'm out on a piece of land, usually in the middle of nowhere, but in my heart, that's always somewhere. And he's talking to me and I have to say, but this is work. Like, this is work. I have to call this work. And I cannot echo that sentiment anymore. Love what I do. So how do we get to accomplished land agent, buyer and seller of land, had an outfitting business, TV personality, apparently knows a little bit about the jets that flew this name Lane Kiffin into a place called Louisiana. Not sure if anyone knows anything about that. Slade says he single-handedly got Kiffin to come to LSU, but we'll unpack that.
I actually, you laugh about that. I was talking to some of my sponsors who are big in Baton Rouge, of course, where all my buyers are from, and we're like, oh, yeah, we're going to do some collaboration and all that kind of stuff. So excited about that. And if your audience is listening, we're recording this on Monday. You know, this all just happened on Sunday. I'm sure you'll be listening to it later, but like this is fresh off the press. Ole Miss still has a high temperature, and they're going to burn the school down. LSU's all excited. I don't know where you stand, but this is where we're at.
Or do we stand? You know, we're all kind of falling over on what has happened here. As I was watching, we'll get back on track, we promise. But as I was watching the Iron Bowl, and I had heard all these circulations of what could happen in the Iron Bowl, and if Kalen DeBoer was going to lose and be interested in the Penn State job. And then this was why Lane was holding all this off so he could then ask about the Alabama. I mean, it was like the coaching carousel this year has been a hot one, especially in the Southeastern Conference for sure. So yeah, this will actually air Wednesday. So this is going to be like fresh, warm ink. This will come off the press, but all right. So getting back in track, what'd you do before this, Slade? What'd you do before being a land guy?
Well, when I was 16, my parents have a high fence place, and it's all native genetics, 2,200 acres at the time. And I was guiding there, and all my deer education came from there since I was 16 years old. Now, start that off, I'm not a huge fan of high fences, but we put the fence up in 99. And it's all native genetics on 2,200 acres in the South. And what I tell people is this is a God thing, so don't shoot the messenger on the high fence here. at that time when I was outfitting and on my parents' place, another place, let's just say my parents' place, I was watching 50 deer from 4 years old and older every year. I'm just throwing that number out there. How much more did I learn about a native genetic mature buck, how to manipulate habitat, how to get them to their maximum age, what they do, how to kill them? I couldn't have learned what I learned in such a short amount of time without that. That's from aging deer on the hoof, putting out 10 guides a day to figure out what's working, what you can get away with, what you can't get away with, pressure. It was just so much learned there. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of high fences, but I've helped build a lot, and it's been a really fun journey to. And everybody, whenever you say high fence, somebody says, "Oh, I ain't listening to that" or whatever. Look, I'm not interested in the breeder pen stuff, other than what I can learn to apply it to the outside world. But you should be interested in these native genetic high fences because they're a sample of what could happen if you didn't have any neighbors, and that's interesting. And we can learn a lot from that. So don't turn your brain off when somebody says, "Hey, look, there's a high fence, but this is the deal," because you can learn so much.
Well, and you said a word that I want to unpack, native genetics. I'm assuming what it means, but go through what's the difference?
Okay, so in the late 90s, when people put up high fences like us in Mississippi, it's illegal to bring deer. And so all we did was trap 2,200 acres. And
you just have what you have.
What was in there is what we had. Within 2.5 years, we had 3 180 pluses walking. Within 4 years, we had a 200. Before that, the biggest deer we had ever killed on my family's place was a 152 I killed before the fence. And we were consistently killing what we would call good deer in southwest Mississippi, 120 to 150 inches every year, 8, 10 of them. And that's really good hunting in our area. And now hunting's changed a lot in the last 25 years, and we manage better and things like that. But it's a really, really cool process. And since that time, I think we've grown 5 or 6 over 200. Are right there at 200, and it's really, really interesting. Now,
and they still have it today. I hate to stop you.
I've sold half of it twice, and anyway, look, I've not killed the biggest deer I've ever killed inside that fence was 135-inch 8-point 15 years ago. So anything you see me shoot, no, I didn't shoot it in the high fence, and I don't do that. I don't hunt out there on purpose, and I don't let my kids hunt out there on purpose because I have really good land, and I want them to grow up in the same environment I grew up in. I don't want to take it. I think there's a place for it, and I think if a landowner wants to do that, hey, God-given right, do what you want to, as long as it's legal. But me and my family, we hunt on my personal stuff, not inside the fence, and that's my family's place.
I was going to say, so your family still owns and runs a high fence outfitting operation in Mississippi.
Correct. And it's more of a family place, and they sell a couple hunts. Like my little niece killed a big old 8 or 9-year-old kind of a coal deer, looked like a dragon, had 2 big points yesterday.
Nice. Well, I'm just already loving throwing all these buzzwords out because, Slade, what I'm having to learn getting into this full tilt like I have is people on social media, amazing how many opinions there are and how many haters on whatever you can make up. Like currently, last week's podcast guest was Mike Yoder with drone deer recovery. You've got to listen to this podcast, man. He is doing
that. To me, these guys doing the research with drones, we are going to learn more in the next 3 years from them, because it's not just like I was talking to a landowner yesterday, and he had a survey done, and he said exactly how many bucks, how many does, and yada yada yada, and it's like. Before that, and think about it from a real estate standpoint, I'm about to buy one because
I want to hook you up. Like literally, I have your guy. Literally,
if I've got, I've got these properties that I'm buying, and then I'm selling to Joe Blow landowner. He comes out of Baton Rouge, big LSU fan. He comes and he wants to buy this place with Slade. I don't know about the deer on it. Well, sometimes it's hard to get pictures of everything on it if it's a place 2 hours from the house and it's not a place you've got set up 100%, like maybe you're in phase 1. But if I can pick the drone up and let's say it's a 200-acre place and I can take 500 acres around there and, well, look, here's the deer that are right there right now. That's the reason people don't buy properties. And that's the reason people buy properties with good history, because this is the largest investment they're ever going to make. And whenever you show them you're safe in this investment because this is what's here now, they will buy that property 10 times over the property of what maybe could be there.
Let's go ahead and build some buzz here. You know what? Everybody, it's official. Slade and I are going off script because we can. He and I can talk, and I already can see this, and we going to have too much fun. So this whole talk track of questions is going out the door. Let's go, Slade. Strap in. Question one. When we are flying the drone, because now we're in drones. I didn't even know we were going here, but we're going here. We're going to fly into drones. Now we're surveying the property, but you and I aren't naive enough to think if we're going to sell a client 60 acres or 100 acres or 200 acres. We're not naive enough to think that we're only going to survey the deer that are exactly on this 200 acres. How do you feel about surveying the neighbor's drone?
200 or 2,000, they're leaving your property every day for the most part.
Right. So how do you feel about surveying the deer on the neighbors? I'll answer too. I won't put you on the chopping block without answering.
If I was a neighbor, I would be aggravated, but devil's advocate, if
they're going to survey yours too.
Well, devil's advocate, if that landowner is doing it to better educate himself to make better deer decisions, that's the kind of neighbor you want.
100%.
Now, we go back to the evil man that we all are. Now, I could see where it would be very tempting to say, I wonder where my buck's bedded today and what spot I need to go to, which I think is a no-no.
And currently that's legal in Ohio. Let's just throw this.
I don't even think Mississippi has updated their laws to that yet. And I could be wrong, but I think it's, but like, for instance, let's take Oklahoma and Missouri. Well, if I pick up the drone and I see the buck 200 yards from a feeder or food plot or stand I want to hunt, well, guess what? That's where I'm going hunting. For me personally, I don't know. I just it kind of goes back almost to the trail camera thing. Like, was it more fun whenever we didn't know what was about to step out? Yeah. Now, we couldn't make as good of decisions, but now I'm like, oh yeah, there's Ricky Bobby. We had a deer called Ricky Bobby. There he comes. Or it used to be, man, there's a good 10 point. Look coming here. Like, I wonder where he came from. I wonder how old he is. That was fun.
I'm with you. I think there is room for improvement in the regulation because there's a lot of places you can't hunt after flying the drone for 24 hours or whatever. Man, we get into a gray area, but I think what you have said that I am going to ride with, because I am buying one openly. Everybody already knows that they listen to my podcast. I'm buying one. I'm going to see Mike with Drone Deer Recovery next week. Mike is who I'm going to go get a drone from. What I do not have interest in for the drone world here, just so everyone knows, I do not have interest in finding out if the buck is on the neighbor and then I go hunt this exact stand. I don't have interest in that. That takes away the chase. And by the way, if we play devil's advocate, to me, just because I know a deer's bedded 200 yards from a feeder, let's all go through how hard it is to get in that stand quietly, get in that stand undetected, get the deer to come down the exact trail that you think he's going to want to come down to get the wind in his face and get it to the feeder before dark, get him to do it before dark, get your shot off. For me, get it on film. Like, it's hard for me to be like, yeah, well, just because we know the deer's there, now he's automatically dead. Like, I'm not going to give myself that much credit. That's not actually true because
way too many factors.
Way too many. Way too many. He smells a doe and she takes him 60 yards north at the last minute. It's just not like it's dead, but I do think that takes away from the mystery, and I'm just not interested in that. I want the mystery, but what I do want with the drone is, like you just said, I want the herd surveys. I want to survey my neighbors. I want to go to my neighbors and say, I have this drone and we can survey your farm every time you want. And also when you shoot a deer, and it comes on me, we're going to put the drone in the air and we're going to find it through the drone. We're not going to trumps around each other's property. I don't need to give you permission. You don't need to give me permission anymore to go walk in there with dogs and do this, and that. We're going to do it the right way, to me, the right way. I want the herd surveys, but I want that cleanliness of management is, like you just said, I have no problem if my neighbor says, hey, I'm going to go fly the drone. Dude, like, do it. Let's find out how many deer we have in a 1,000-acre block here, or 2,000-acre block. Let's really write this down because I'm trying to make my farm better for, let's say, late season here in Ohio when we have the entire month of January to hunt. It's brutal cold. Well, if I know there's 50 deer on the neighbor because he's got 25 acres of switchgrass, well, I don't need to go plant more switchgrass because he's got the bedding. I need the food. Now I know the picture. You know what I mean? I know anyway.
I think what you're getting at is what I'm interested. I'm interested in the education.
Yeah, what makes the place better? What can we learn from it?
What are we learning? Because there's so many things that I know now that when we were little, when we were young, learning how to hunt, the old timers said this, which has now been disproven. Nothing against them,
A
nothing
ton
against them. But I
has been
mean, do you
disproven.
remember when we were little? You didn't pee by your stand.
Oh no.
Now on the way to the stand in my mock scrape, I'll pee in it on the way and won't think twice
I
about it.
pee in the stand 10 times. Dude, don't get me on scent control, but I literally wore it out with scent control for a decade. Anyone who intimately knows me, I wore it out. There's no one who worked harder at scent control than me. No one. I had a dryer on my back porch that was specifically set up like 220 outlet on the back
This is
porch.
an interesting conversation for me. So where are you at today with scent control?
I haven't used a spray bottle or a piece of scent control in 3 years.
Okay, are you're what about your soap? What soap are you using?
I use gentle exfoliating Dove or Suave or the cedar that my wife buys me because I think I smell great with it, and then she kisses me. So I use that soap, and I haven't washed my clothes in 3 months. And I slept in Illinois last week in my base layers, and then went into Casey's and got breakfast pizza. And then I had Sitka on in Casey's that evening, and then stayed in the hotel in that, and then went and hunted and had a buck at 40 yards. Killable.
And I'm a scent Nazi. And
Let's
this is
go. I can help you, Slade. I'll just be helpful to you right here, right now. There's only one thing that helps. Only one.
well, talk about it, huh? Anyway,
Ozone. That's it.
I'm a scent Nazi. I've worked with ScentLock for a long time and a Lima Shield. And here's the deal. Do I think you can be 100% scent free? No, I do not. One thing different from where we hunt, from where y'all hunt, and anybody who's hunted in the South, I heard Waddell on a podcast the other day talking about Jay Gregory when he came and hunted in the South. He said, how can y'all kill deer here? The winds swirl everywhere. And they do.
Yeah.
At dark, whenever, we're hunting in October and November, our rut's not till after Christmas. So we're hunting a whole lot of non-rutting deer. And man, at dark, that scent just goes everywhere. And this is I won't get too much off on a tangent. I like to use a lot of cover scents at home.
Yeah.
I spray stuff around my feeders and around my stands and cover my scent with that. I think that really works.
Yep.
This is the difference I see. Do I think you can beat every deer? Absolutely. And if somebody tries to sell you on that, I'm not listening to you anymore. This is what I do know. When I go in the woods and I control as much as I possibly can, does it give me 1%, 5%, 10% better odds? I think it does. And I stack all those things in my favor, like consistent winds, weather patterns, stand setup. And I just do everything. And look, maybe it's a placebo effect. Maybe if I'm doing everything I can, I hunt harder, I hunt smarter, which is okay. Is okay if that's what works. Deion Sanders says, if you look good, you play good. Well, if you feel good going hunting about your setup, do you hunt harder? Do you pay attention more? Are you quieter? Do you move less? Probably so if you think it's going to happen. So I don't know. I'm still a big believer in it. But this is also something I believe. If you don't do it 100%, like if you only do it 85%,
don't do it no percent.
Do zero.
Yep.
It's 85 is zero. You don't even worry about it. For like my kids and my wife, I am over that. When my kids and my wife go hunting, I make sure they bathe and do whatever and keep their clothes as scent free as possible. I'll take like some nose gem or something and spray them down because I know that they're not going to be 100%.
Yep.
Like me and my buddy, if you ever look back at my podcast, me and my buddy Barrett Van Cleve, we're both scent Nazis. And the extremes we go to be scent Nazis are like he has clothes that he has hanging on a specific farm. Then when he gets there, he puts those clothes on and they stay there all year.
Yeah. I was taking that internal deodorant pill that Scent Blocker made. I was taking that. If I touched my clothes when they got out of the dryer without a fresh pair of gloves, if I touched them, I rewashed them all. If my wife touched them, so much as touched them out of the washer into the dryer, one heap grab and through, I was rewashing them all.
Yeah.
It was insane.
I run them through ozone. Ozone smokes your clothes is the only thing, any elastic.
I believe ozone 1,000% works. 1,000% I'm on the record.
Have you
1,000.
noticed since we've started using it, like when you're walking through the woods, you smell it? Now you know the scent?
It's 100. And they always say it smells like lightning, and it is lightning. That's what it is. It's lightning. if you ever go during a rainstorm, or you go around in the summers when I think you smell it the best, when you hear lightning strike, you see it and you start to feel the wind hit you, you can smell lightning. That's ozone. That's exactly what ozone is a strike to the molecule, and it breaks off that oxygen. So scientifically, what I'm saying is I 100% can separate the science behind ozone is legit. The bacterial killing properties of ozone, legit. I had an ozonics like in the first phase when they came out. For me, on those dead, quiet hunting days with no wind, it was too loud. Like I could hear the fan the whole time, and it just drove me nuts. So I just quit using it.
You can't hear as good. You can't hear walking.
Yeah, you can't. But like in a blind, like I think of Spook Span, like I believe in a blind because the ozone is actually concentrating and
if you got one window open, right. It's just nothing's going out of there except ozone.
Dude, I was literally eating and breathing so much ozone from ozonics in blinds, like with no windows open, like it will cause respiratory issues. And I was
100%. I've been there. You're sitting there and all of a sudden your head goes to hurt and you can't breathe.
Yeah. So you're like, it's doing something for sure. But I'm full tilt on the ozone stuff. Scent Crusher, like, the totes, I believe that 1,000,000% works. I have shifted my mindset to, and we'll go into Ohio and Illinois because you have other experience in other states, but I've shifted my mindset to I only hunt stands when it's right. And when I mean it's right, that's also been a shift. This is fun. We're already having a lot of fun here. For me, it used to be the right wind was when it was hitting me in the face and the deer had to come out of a thicket with the wind hitting in the butt. And we all know that's generally not going to happen. You have to give them the wind that they believe is right. And I'm over here to the side. And my buddy Brian always says, burn the edge.
You got to cheat it. I killed a deer on December the 27th, which is like right in.
That's my birthday.
My little girl's birthday too.
Let's go, dude. You said you have 3 kids?
Yes, 2 boys and a girl.
All right, I got 3 daughters, and they're close to the ages you said. I have 12, 10, and 3.
Cool. But anyway, on December 27th, I told my wife, I said, look, I either got to go hunting this day or this day, and we had Christmas stuff going on. She said, go this afternoon, and I killed the deer. And I never forget, I was sent not seat up. I was at my home turf, so I had deer used to certain cover scents. Like I keep nose jammer in my truck and crave from backwoods, and I spray around the feeders in my stands every time I go check my cameras. And so the deer are used to those smells. So I never forget, I'm hunting on the west side of this small little food plot, and the wind is out of the southeast, which, as you know, is a terrible day, but it was the first south after norths, which is usually good. Okay, so the mature does, which is the ones you got to worry about, I barely cheated them. I had a little valley right here. My scent was falling, and then right before dark, I knew that if I had these does there, that was the bait I needed. December the 27th, it's just the peak for us. It's the first week of November for us. Well, I hear this distinct sound coming up the hardwood bottom to the right of a deer raking out a scrape. And, in your mind, you're like, oh, that's him.
It's on. Grabs
him. And I look coming down the trail, and this 20-inch wide, 142-inch 8-point, which is a hammer.
Dude, that's
around our house.
Not in any state.
And he comes up there, and I smoke him at 27 yards, self-filming. And I don't know, that was a special hunt to me because I cheated that wind. From where that buck came from and those does came from, there was a valley right there, and it was slicing in between it.
But he believed coming up, they want the wind in their face, and he believed he had everything in front of him.
He had it.
So here's the fun part, Slade. You're going to have to go back to your friend because now I'm going to have you thinking. How did your scent control help that night? All right, let's go to the next topic.
This was my thought. When those does were coming up there,
you did have to pass their test.
And east wind, as historically, swirls. It's just how the world works.
Yep.
And when those does were coming up, this is winning in the scent control world. And I try to explain this to people I hunt with. This is winning. Those does picked their head up and they smelled something.
Mm-hmm.
They took 2 steps forward. You know how them old long neck does do. But they were okay with it and they moved on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking they got a little bit of me / my cover scent and they came on. Because here's the deal. If you like to feed or don't hunt over feed, look, it's legal in the South, and I hunt over it. If you don't like it, you can turn the podcast.
Ohio's a bait state, so we can get into that for sure. But it's bait state.
And I love hunting Missouri because it's not. So,
That's exactly me with Illinois. It's my exact contrast. I know that there's no bait.
but if you are hunting if you're hunting in a bait state, those deer know those smells. And guess
100%.
what? This go back to the scent control. If I think that I can be 90% scent free, right? Okay. Well, every time I go to that feeder, those deer are tolerating a certain amount of human scent, right? Is that 5%?
And I call that like a secondary area too. Like Ben Rising's a buddy of mine, and Ben always talks about like the primary and the secondary, like and this is, you're going into a Lee Lakowskiism too, because I hear Lee talking about like, they know my scent. I'm on the farm a lot on purpose. They know me. They don't,
you can train deer.
Yeah, they don't know which way to associate the pressure. They don't know when you're hunting or feeding.
Right.
And that's you're just always feeding.
So I'm feeding, checking cameras. Every time I do that, look, that Crave from Backwoods, it's a feed topper. I spray it on the trees and around the feeder. I even spray it on the tires of my truck on the way out. So,
dude, I gotta talk you off the ledge on some of that.
I killed a 6-year-old buck about 5 years ago, and I'm convinced a deer blew on the way in, and I'm convinced it was him. He blew and then came in anyway. Yeah, but I was my rubber boots were soaked down in that Crave, and he'd grown up around it, and I'm convinced he came on in.
Yeah, dude. So I don't even know how we got onto this. Oh, you cheated the wind, but yeah, now you got to give them what wind they believe. Here's what I'll say, and maybe you're going to say Missouri's the same, because I want to dive into this. Ohio, for me, and I'm putting this on record for all my listeners, to give Ohio hunters some credit. Ohio, and I will say West Virginia, deer have been the hardest deer for me to kill wind wise of anything I've ever hunted. And I believe it's because of the pressure that they're used to. If a Ohio doe, if for the most part, anywhere I hunt, if that doe that you talked about, the first nanny, I always tell my mentee young man that I take with me, we have to pass the first test. Okay. The first test is the worst test. And that's those huzzy does. We have to pass them. Then if we pass them, we're good. I'd just rather crawl inside the tree most times when I'm waiting on those does. I mean, I'd just rather crawl my face into a tree and just like let them pass. And all right, we pass that one, we're good. And that buck comes in there way less alert. But if those first does in Ohio, if they get you, and they typically will, if you're not bulletproof, it's usually over. Unless it's a certain time of the year, it's usually over if they get you. And I have just, if they even think they get you, dude, they just make a snorting, stomping, just mess, right? And the ones where they won't leave and you just wish you could get a shot on them.
I'm convinced some of those does blow on days you're not there, because that's just who they are.
They just literally, there's some of them I'd just love to throw a sledgehammer at them. But here's the difference. And in Illinois, I'm going to take away some credit for Illinois hunters. Sorry, putting myself on the record. I listen to the We Are Hunter guys a lot. And I think Jared said on there that like these deer, and maybe Chris Brackett said it, but yeah, these deer give you a free pass. I am convinced, and I think you mentioned it. I'm convinced there's been several hunts this year that I've had in Illinois where like there's one I can think of literally last week where a doe literally did the whole with me in the tree, moving her neck. I mean, for 2 minutes, she is staring straight at me, and I was moving. I didn't know she was behind me. I was moving, and she just got me, and we're just doing this dance. Dude, she just goes back to eating. I know she knows I was there. And in Ohio, that doe would have snorted, stomped, smashed trees, rolled, cried, screamed, huffed, everything, and blown the whole block of woods out. And she just went back to eating. And all I can figure is it's this whole free pass thing, but I feel like it's indicative of how they have learned to associate pressure. Because that same doe in Illinois is in a ag country area where there's incredibly low density of people per square mile, more ag country, activity. Like, I just don't know that they've been, and we could call it genetically programmed or whatever, but I don't know that they've been raised to associate us as pressure in certain areas. And I will 1000% say on record, I think it's easier to fool the deer with the wind in states where they haven't been pressured as hard. I really think it's easier to do, like Illinois.
I totally agree. And look, first of all, when I hunt, I'm hunting, I'm going to try to hunt with the wind right, whatever that definition is. But in the South, most of the time, now you get a northwest wind, it's usually pretty consistent, but most of the time, hunting in the south, you're not going to have a consistent wind. I've always said, I always enjoyed Jury's 13 because, man,
Yep.
they break it down and mark some mad scientists with that stuff.
Yep.
Always said there needed to be one for the south, and let me tell you why I mean that.
Oh, I would
In
agree because your phases are different.
it's a totally different ballgame. For instance, so when do the Midwest deer come out of velvet? September 1st to 15th, somewhere in there. That's when they come out of velvet, right? Well, that's the same time my deer come out of velvet. Okay. My rut, okay, so let's just say everybody's out of velvet for the most part on September the 15th. Okay, my season opens October 1st. There's a small velvet season, but my season opens October 1st. On December the Christmas to January the 10th is the peak of our rut. You see how much time I have October, November, and all of December to hunt deer where the rut, for the most part, is not a factor. Okay, you take the same deer in Iowa, Ohio, his velvet's going September the 15th. Well, by October 15th, he's got love on the mind. My
Yep.
deer ain't even thought about love October 15th. You see, so there's a whole transition of time that happens with a southern deer when the rut's later that
100%.
you're
Your calendar isn't even close to what those 13 phases are that they're putting out because they're basing it on like a Midwest deer.
well, you're after the first week and people bump them around and things like that. You're really October cold front hunting until December the 10th. You're relying on an October cold front, and also during that time you've got changes in acorns dropping, different acorns, different times. Our farming in our area is ryegrass fields for the cattle. So I mean, you've got our food plots we do. So it's a whole different ball game. And if you've never that's what the trolls on the internet is, they all know everything. Dude, take your humble hat and put it on because everywhere is different, and everybody grew up different and things like that. So I'd never shoot a deer over bait. Well, come hunt where we hunt. I'm not saying I couldn't kill one over bait. I've done it 100 times.
Right.
But it's and look, if they outlaw bait in Mississippi tomorrow, I'm totally fine with it. I'm totally fine with it. But it's legal right now. It allows me to kill 5 and 6 year old bucks, so that's what we're gonna do.
Hey, I think we started this on native high fence, and I love the native term. Just to recap this little segment here, the native term meaning that his family has never bought deer to put into the fence. And I guess I can't say you've never bought deer to put in the fence, but native genetics means it's what they've had. It's been organic native genetics.
There's no breeder pens, no trapping a buck and putting does in, no AI. I mean, it's literally if you took your backyard and took 2,200 acres and went, whoop,
Yep.
There it is.
Yep. So I think that it would be an incredible place to be able to make accurate studies happen. And you said something earlier that I just want to make sure that we circle to. You guys have grown 180s and even 200s in Mississippi in a high fence native genetic area.
240 is the biggest one, big triple drop time.
So now I'm making assumptions, but what do you think were some of the biggest factors that contributed to, and we will close this loop here. We have so many more topics to get to, but what factors would you attribute to that deer becoming 220 in a native genetic high fence?
I think it's a Shaquille O'Neal factor. Okay. So whenever when we trapped the original place, we did camera survey with film, by the way, film cameras, we had 180 different bucks. Okay. So of 180 different bucks, okay, we had, listen to this, we had only 2 bucks that were 9 points or more at the time. 2.
Geez, and it's this, and just so we can have the full math here, this is 2,200 acres that's fenced at that time. Guys, correct. Do this math, 180 bucks. I mean, dude, that to me, that's a lot of bucks per square acre. If you want to call it.
We have a whole lot of deer in our area, a whole lot of habitat, but so you take that many bucks, and then let's say we're trying to shoot the bottom third off and let the best ones breed. Basically, you're getting the Shaquille O'Neal effect of there's going to be a big one out there. And fortunately, when we trapped, we had 3 that were just hammers. And what the coolest thing is, we had one that was 188 typical 12, just a hammer. And look, not a big wide deer, just a big bold type frame. I've seen that deer's genetics 3 and 4 generations now. I can pick them out and say, oh, I know who his great grandpa was, and it's really cool. So they don't really ever go away. And at the same time, when we first put the fence up, big 6s and big 7s, man, they were everywhere. Very few now.
And so Slade, can we attribute this ideology to the term that I hear pushed a lot that I tend to agree with is high grading, that you did a little bit of controlled high grading in there, meaning you guys were able to harvest the best bucks, or would you say, no, you were able to actually build a comprehensive list of the target bucks that you want, which could have happened to have been your cull bucks, quote unquote.
Right. And our target was the culls.
In the beginning, let's say, or maybe it always is.
And that it was the culls, and that's what me and my guides used to hunt. And look, I hate we got on the high fence things, but it really is such a cool deer education, and I hope that anybody's listening out there, listen, because you can learn so much. And look, these deer now, they're 4 generations in now, but so they're less pressured, they're a little easier to see. But let me even go further there. I can kill any of those 6 or 7 year old deer. I almost say 95% of them with my bow. If you give me a week out there, I could do it. Okay. Well, the deer around my house, the deer at the places I hunt within 5 miles of my house, they act just the same. And it's nothing to do with the fence. It is how you treat them. I have a gray hunting truck and a yellow buggy I show property off of. If those deer on my property see that truck or that buggy, within 5 minutes of me leaving that spot, they will be on camera. Why? Because for generations,
they know you're just feeding and doing.
They know I don't shoot off of it. We don't do that, and that's low fence and high fence. So your deer. But look, my little girl killed a 5-year-old buck, 207 pounds, which is a big deer, on Friday morning at my house. I've seen that buck eating 300 yards in front of the house with the kids playing basketball before.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
they get used to.
I'm all into the high fence because in this regard, for the studies and for the education that it can provide, because I too, and this is something I want to get into with you, is these land management projects and some of the things that I've done that I'm passionate about the outcome. I'm passionate about seeing these things come full circle. Well, a lot of these things take time. And something that this is tough for me to go on the record saying, because I think it's the hardest thing to accomplish when buying a piece of dirt, is I would take a hard look at what your neighbors have or what they're doing or who the neighbors are or what their ideologies are. And like I just said, that's a hard thing to analyze when you go sell a piece of ground or buy a piece of ground. Is like, hey, can I talk to the 5 neighbors? But if you have the wrong 5 neighbors, and why I'm really in on this high fence is because you said it earlier, you're removing the obstacle of, well, the neighbors, in my example, in certain farms that I've had, every neighbor in every direction shoots every 3-year-old that is promising that I have. I mean, and I know that's a buzzword for anyone to say, even, our dear friend Morgan Wallen, the neighbor's still shooting all next year's deer. Well, I've had that. And it's been because I've made things better, and the neighbor's standard is 100-inch buck, and they're happy as can be. And that's great. But if you're trying to grow 170s or you're trying to grow 200s, like, you're going to have a problem.
One thing you can tell people that are buying your properties and people out there listening who are thinking about investing in properties, we run into this question all the time. Well, Slade, what about the neighbors? Well, a lot of times I don't know what the neighbors are doing, and what the neighbors tell you they do and what they actually do, because their deer education may be different. Here's the way you can fix that worry. If you got a place, let's say you got 300 acres and you're getting big, I own 302 acres just north of here, and I'm working on selling, and I got 5 deer on camera, 5 years old and older, all good shootable bucks on camera this year. Now, I didn't have the place last year, so somebody else was leasing it last year. Now, I know nothing about the neighbors, but I do know this. They're either bad hunters, managing correctly, or not doing good, or I wouldn't have those deer on that place with a limited amount. I mean, I haven't done a lot of work to get those amount of deer. We're not even close to the rut where they're traveling real far. So if your trail camera's on a place, like a place that is selling, and you can verify those pictures came from that place, and they're really good, Well, it doesn't matter if okay. Let's just say you got your 100 acres and you got giants all over, and yeah, but the neighbor shoots everything that walks. Well, he may not. He must not be a good hunter. Look at what's on the place. Forget all the
Yep.
outside stuff you can't control. Look at what you can control, and is okay. This is what we have now. On the flip side, if you're only getting pictures of 2 and 3 year olds and you've done your homework and things like that, I'm not saying you can't make it better, but let's dive in further and see what's going on while we're only getting pictures of those deer.
Yep. Yeah. And I'll make a really strong argument that the neighbor's only going to do what you're assuming if you go and make assumptions. The best thing to do in that regard when you buy a piece of property is if that piece of property is right for you and fits what your goals are, go talk to the neighbors and be open about your goals, because I think so often it will positively surprise people that if I come to the neighbor and say, hey, yeah, I'm going to be putting a lot of effort, time, and money and pumping into creating better habitat and better better outcomes for our wildlife to ultimately impact our hunting. Like, all I'm asking is that maybe we could find a way to work together in this. And I'm going to say this openly, like, I'll put the most money into it. I'm not asking you to put as much money into it as I'm going to. I'm just asking you to row in the same direction that I am. Can we get behind this? I think you'd be pleasantly surprised how many neighbors out of 10 would say, yeah, like, I'm in.
And you got to be respectful. If they are okay with their son or daughter or grandson shooting 2 and 3 year olds, that is their God given right.
Yep.
And look, there is nothing wrong with it. It just doesn't align with your goals.
Yep.
But at the same time, and you've heard this before, well, I'm going to shoot him because if I don't, the neighbor will.
Right.
If you say that, you are that neighbor.
You
Put
are.
that on the Instagram reel. Y'all listen up. If you say, I'm going to shoot him because if I don't, the neighbor will, you are that neighbor.
Yep. And that's what I mean. Go talk to the neighbors. You only know that answer if you go talk to them. And your example that you just made is absolutely right. It is their right and their freedom, God-given right to go shoot whatever deer they want. I'll do you one better. If I'm going to go put permanent hunting blinds and I know that you want to take your granddaughter and go get her first buck, I'm going to offer you my blinds. I'm going to offer you my blind over a food plot to go get her first buck. I'm not just going to be your neighbor that has what you wish you had or whatever. I'll give you my stuff. You want to shoot a 5-year-old 8-point, dude? I got a call buck that I would love to put your dad on that's never killed a deer. I'd love to put, you know what I mean? Go, not only, shoot it at your property, but you're welcome to come over here on me that I get him every evening, get in my redneck blind and shoot him. That's, to me, like, that's the part. And I'm guilty of this at times. We are all divided in the hunting industry, in the community. We are so divided. I think we would win a lot bigger if we would just come together. And it starts with your neighbors. It just really does. Don't be in opposite sides of the ring with your own neighbors. Work together. And I think it really will surprise a lot of people. It's not something that could happen overnight, but it's going to have a better outcome than if you were just saying like you did. Oh, well, if I don't shoot it, he will. Well, if you did shoot it, then you granted his, wish, because that's what he was saying about you.
I've got in my area that I hunt around my house. I hunt for all my home stuff. I hunt within 5 miles of my house, and we have such good neighbors. I'm not saying every one of them is good, but like I send pictures on group messages to all my neighbors. Hey, we're letting this one go. We're letting this one go. I got a 4-year-old I get right now every day. That's 140-inch 8-point, legit.
Yep.
He's the biggest deer I get on camera every day, and he may get shot, but I'm not going to shoot a 5-year-old 150-inch 8-point if I shoot that 4-year-old 140-inch 8-point. And last year, I had almost the same deer in the same spot. Called him Pope, and the reason I call him Pope, I told the neighbors that that's going to be my Pope and Young next year. And in October, I killed him. The episode's not out yet, but we did an episode this summer about the hunt for Pope. Went in, put summer food plots in, and got everything dialed in. And it ended up, and it doesn't usually, or a lot of times it don't, but it worked out, and I killed that big 5-year-old 212-pound buck. He was 133 inches, but a big old mass, just a big southern 8-point.
Dude, that's so good. I want to jump to another topic because I have a feeling Slade and I could do a 4-hour podcast. So, open invitation, Slade. You ever want to come up to Ohio? I'll help you out. You just have to bring me down south. It's just a trade we're going to make.
All right.
I'm happy to help you out.
You may want to leave if you come back here.
I don't know, man. I mean, I already left once, so hopefully your deer aren't better than than Ohio. I don't think my family's got it in them to move again. So here's what I want to jump to. I'm going to paint this picture of the conversation point. What I believe exists in our space, and by our space is the hunting land, recreational buying and selling, making land better specific to our recreational use of it, specific to hunting. What I want to try and unpack with you, and the hat that you wear is an agent. You're a land manager. You've been a guide. I believe you have time. You have some expertise in timber sales and consulting, and so you're incredibly well rounded, Slade. I have heard. Well, I want to talk about these buzzwords that I've heard Chris Brackett say multiple times that I tend to agree with. I tend to agree with them, and I'm intrigued by them, which is these two words: whitetail equity. So I want to work backwards here. How do you believe, having kind of positioned yourself as not just a real estate agent, not just a land agent, but even smaller funnel? I am a lives, eats, breathes, sleeps, killing whitetails and whatever else, wildlife management. I live, breathe, sleep, eat all this, and I'm here to help you do that in your land purchases, soup to nuts. Do you believe there is merit to that we can create extra value, or intangible, if that's the right word, value in making hunting land better? Do you think that is actually a thing?
Absolutely. And 10 years ago, people used to say all the time, you can't appraise deer and turkeys and things like that. Now it's different. First of all, we start with comps. Okay, this land in this area sells for more because of the good hunting. Well, you only have to get one sale, and then you got a comp. And I'm thinking of these certain properties in my mind. Going back to what you started with, I've been fortunate, and it's not a Slade thing. It's a God thing. I grew up in the timber business with my dad. Helped develop a whole lot of properties. My dad and both of my grandpas bought and sold land. I thought that's just what people did, because my whole family did. And so I bought my first piece of land the year I got out of college, and have built and built and built a lot more since. I've probably done more 1031s than anybody I know. But anyway, first of all, it goes back to, if you have all this knowledge, there's a lot of people out there that have this knowledge as shysters. They're taking advantage of the clients who don't have this knowledge for profit. I back up 10 feet. I will lose money every day to keep my reputation. And okay, how do we do that? How do we say when Slade says something about a whitetail or a turkey, you get that equity? Okay. Well, I have a podcast like this. I have Hunting Land Man TV. So if you're doing some research on me or my social media stuff like that, I'm living what I'm preaching. I take my family hunting my home place, which is what a lot of my clients want to do. I'm managing for mature deer by manipulating habitat, food plots, feeders, that sort of thing. And I'm showing that on video every day. If you just pick up your business card and say, I work for Big Buck Realty, and have a deer on your business card that you killed 4 years ago at your uncle's place, we're not the same. Nothing wrong with you, but I want to show my clients that if I say, listen, if you do these things, this is what can happen. And what I always tell my clients, I'm going to show you what you can get pictures of. If you can kill them, is your business. Because, that's your business. I'll show you what you can get pictures of.
Hey, I resembled that remark.
and so, so you have to get trust, because a lot of times I'm also the landowner. So dual agent 70% of the time, and then a lot of times a landowner. So you have to be very careful and upfront. I'll give you a case in point how far I take this. I had a client buy a property that I took, say, to level 2 or 3. I put a camp on it, water well, all that kind of stuff, just for the resale. And I've done that bunches of times. Well, I don't hook up the sewer systems or anything, because every client maybe want to do it different. And if I have to move that camp, I got that expense there. So I let the client take care of that. I told this client this when I sold him the place. Well, I'll never forget. I was on my elk hunt. He was upset. I thought you had all this hooked up and all this kind of stuff. I said, well, man, we talked about this or whatever. And I said, I'll make it right. I paid $7,000 to get all that done because he had a misunderstanding. I didn't have to do that. But whenever somebody tells him I'm looking for a piece of land in Mississippi or Louisiana, he said, well, look, this is your guy. He's going to take care of you. And I mean that. I will lose money in order to make sure that I'm taking care of my clients.
And let's unpack this. You mean that you went into a property, made the improvement to add a septic system into it, the tanks there, leach field, whatever the system is that's approved in your area. You just didn't stub out something or actually trench a line over to wherever a prospective camp could be, because you're saying you didn't want to be the guy to pick where it would geographically be located.
So, I don't know how it is in all areas, but turnkey is everything. I've been doing this 19 years. This December, I've been doing this 19 years. It's hard to believe. But so used to be people had more time and more knowledge. They want to buy a place and improve it themselves. That used to be the thing. Turnkey was hard to get. You got pennies on the dollar for the improvements you made. Now you get every dollar plus some because of immediacy. People our age got kids, they're playing 100 baseball games a year, and they're doing soccer, and they're doing this, and they don't have time to do these sort of things.
Yep. So, even me doing that. I'm doing all that. Travel, soccer.
And also the knowledge to do it. So I take properties all the time. Let's say, for instance, I bought 546 acres last year, me and two partners. I ran power half a mile to the last place on the place and put a camp. I have to put a camp because the power companies won't run power to nothing. You got to have camp. Drill the water well, everything. Okay, well, whenever I ran that power back there, I gave power to 450 acres. So I didn't have to multiply how much it cost to do that power on the 83-acre tract in the back. I multiplied it or divided it times all of that acreage. So I gave basically 500 acres power for $100 an acre, which is no brainer. But you got, and so people say, well, Slade, you're taking advantage of people. Well, that 502 acres, the original tract was 502. It had been on the market like 3 different times and didn't sell because it wasn't what people wanted. We created what people wanted. All the tracks touch the Homage National Forest so people can hunt their 80 and then go out on the public ground and hunt, which is a huge thing in our area. We put power, we put campsites, I just actually did my first place that just went on the market last week of a place that didn't have power, and I did solar operation. I put a whole solar system in and backup generator and put water well in, and this is my first. I'm learning about that, and in our experience, solar places sell just as good as none for the right buyer, and so.
Well, it's a lift. I mean, we always look at this as a lift. You are removing, and that's what I always call phase one. Is like we take the heaviest lifting. What are the negatives to the property? What are the things that we can mitigate by taking on the lift? To you saw opportunity that, hey, it's maybe not bringing actual power here, bringing the solar here to remove a negative. I want to use an example property because my team, today's Monday, we have our Monday morning meetings, and we got a property that we're trying to discover, like, what should we do here? What is the exit strategy on this property? I want to pose a question to you once we finish this ideology. I want to pose this property to you, see what you would do. But you are saying that this word whitetail equity, you believe it does exist. We can force appreciation specific to, and I want to continue to use asterisks. Because, I think it's easier for you and I to say, well, if you buy some acreage and you put a septic and you put a well and all that, yes, that can increase the value. What I want to know, because I know you're doing as intimately much of this work whitetail specific or wildlife specific as you are end user specific, can we create equity by doing the improvement projects to make the wildlife better, the habitat, the hunting, all the things? Can we create equity? Like Chris Brackett believes, can we create?
Absolutely, and I'll take it to an extreme. Our area is a timber-heavy area, but recreational values are way above what timber values are. It used to be the opposite. Now recreational value. I can take, let's say, it had a tract of land across the road. It was 200 acres, and it had $2,500 an acre worth of big old beautiful pine and hardwood timber, gorgeous. I can go cut $1,000 an acre off of that place, and it will sell for as much or more because we just made it a better deer hunting place. We put in more roads when we do that. We did bigger than normal logging ramps for food plots and things like that. And so that takes it because in all reality, from an appraisal standpoint, it should be dirt versus that timber value to get to that price. It doesn't work like that anymore. It used to, but you take a place that's got proven deer history. The food plots are there. The roads are there. They sell for more. And I could name 20 agents across the country that preach it every day. So if you get a place that's got a proven deer history, duck history, turkey history, and you prove it, like, it's one thing. You can't have equity. And let's use it like this. Your deer pictures, your turkey pictures, your harvest reports, that's your comps. Yeah. That's your comps for why this place has equity. And look, as a good agent, your agent needs to be fighting for your appraisals, to match what the market really is. I think the best appraisers in the world are your good land agents. Yep. And I literally was on the phone with the bank this morning working on appraisal, making sure they got the right information because they don't know what we know. My guy who works for Southern Ag Credit that I do a whole lot of stuff with, he covers the whole state. So he can't know what I know. So listen, this area sells for more. Here's the comps you need to make this work. He doesn't know. You just can't pull a place that has zero deer history and, this place sold for $3,500 an acre. Why did this one sell for $5,500 an acre? Well, let me show you and let me give you the comps so we can make this deal work.
Yep.
And that's why a good agent is worth their weight in gold.
And a good agent or two in your neck of the woods, right?
I do.
So
they work down the road.
Yeah. He said, I'll find them. It's like Dumb and Dumber, If we keep our eyes open, we'll catch our chance.
We'll let you know.
All right. By the way, I agree as well. I'd love to have Chris Brackett on. Because
I had Chris Brackett on mine, and on Riverside, we had a big problem that day. We got to get on and do it again.
Dude, yell at him to come on to mine because he and I had a fun conversation a while back. But I love this idea of him saying the words whitetail equity. I really do believe it is a thing. But there's only a handful of the niche of buyers that are going to understand it and evaluate it and respect it and compartmentalize it, let's say. So I want to shift gears here, but something that I want to talk with you about, because we've kind of danced a little bit around this. There's something that I'm wrestling with myself, and my listeners know, like for me, I talk about our business in the beginning of the podcast. I talk about some of the active deals we have going on, and I'm actively wrestling with my journey to success publicly. I'm a person of faith. Like I just don't have it in me to lie to people. I'm actively working through some of the things that I wrestle with. So I'm going to give you two scenarios here because we had one. One is the 25-acre property that we bought that has a well and septic and electric on it. So don't let me forget that one. But first, how do you wrestle with, Slade? We're hunters, right? You and I are outdoorsmen. We're hunters. We want to buy and sell the biggest tracts. And I think you're probably like me. I get excited about the big tracts of land because I think of that buyer and how much they can do with a big tract of land and how much of the space they can own and control and manage and make better. How do you wrestle with the idea of splitting farms up? I'll start at the top I feel like I'm on both sides of this, and there's agents in my area in the market that I'm actively struggling with because they are very, very intentionally branded as outdoor recreational land pros. And they'll buy a 150 acre farm and then they're offering it in 15, 20, 35, 18, 12, 7, 25 acre tracts. And they're cutting it to death, and you can I shouldn't say to death. They're offering splits. That's where I'll stop. How do you wrestle with this? And what is your take? Because I don't know. It's just so hard for me to watch.
That is a thing. And I've been criticized on social media, y'all splitting up all these properties and things like that. And there's some merit to that. At the end of the day, all that is secondary to me. When I leave the house in the morning, I'm going to slay the dragon for my family. And if you don't know that term, back in the day, I guess they left the cave and go slay the dragon for their family. If that's what it takes to slay the dragon, somebody's going to do it. These farms aren't going to stay. And also, you take the other thing. You're splitting up these farms. It's not going to be as good for the wildlife. But you're also creating an 80 acre or 40 acre parcel where a working guy at Baton Rouge, New Orleans can afford it and bring his grandson to kill their first deer. I didn't say a 150-inch 8-year-old. I said their first deer.
I'll give you both positive and negatives to both sides because I'm with you. There is both.
I totally get it because I'm all about big land, low pressure, growing 5-year-olds, but that's Slade. That's not everybody.
And that's a rich man's game. I'm sure you would agree.
Hunting is a rich man's sport.
That's where we're at now.
Everybody out there, who says, well, it's becoming a rich man's game, elk, deer, turkey, land ownership. You're correct, but here's the deal. You either believe in that or you believe like that, or you don't believe in capitalism, because it's an open market. If you want to own 1,000 acres, guess what? Get up tomorrow at 4:30 a.m., get your mind right, bust your butt, and you can buy 1,000 acres one day. This is the greatest country in America.
Thank you. Say it again. I have to comment this to people all the time.
This is
Nothing
it.
prevents you to do it more than me and Slade. Nothing's preventing you. You live in the best country.
You can listen out there and, oh, Slade, he lives in a good area and
Wish
sells a
I
bunch
had
of
his money.
You're right. A bunch of property. Look, my goal this year was to sell 100 million. I will hit between 65 and 70. Between me and one or two other agents, that's never been done in the state. Okay. Well, Slade, you live in a good area. Okay. What were you doing at daylight this morning? Because this morning at daylight, I was in my pool cold plunging because it gets my mind right for Monday morning. Then after that, I worked out, and then I helped my kids with breakfast and got the kids off to school. We're taking it to an extreme every day, and you can do this too. You can do it too. I'm sure we were talking about Lane Kiffin earlier. It drives me crazy. I'm interested in LSU and SEC and football and stuff like that, but I'm way more interested in me and my family and my hunting and my journey to be the best Slade I can be. I think it's a slap in the face to God if you don't be the best person you can be every day. And I know we were going to get on this topic, and I want to make sure and bring this up, and I'll do it now. I've been very fortunate. We sold bunches and bunches of properties, been the number one agent we now in the country several times. I've been successful. And for me to toot my own horn and say, it's all a Slade, no. And if I come across like that, I apologize. I'm a sinful man. God, if you watch every part of my life, God got me here today. Okay, so if God and his busy self taking care of the world took care of Slade to get me here today, how much would a slap in the face would it be if I got to March and said, well, look, I've sold $25 million worth of property this year. Me and the family are all right. I'm going to coast the rest of the year. That is a slap in the face to God. And I believe that he will take that equity he's put in you and put it in somebody else who will expand his kingdom. Okay. Yeah. Let me tell you what I mean by expand his kingdom. I'm on the missions committee at my church. We decide where money comes in for missions, where it goes, what missionaries we support, different programs, things like that. And this is across to other countries, not internally. And I've had this happen on several occasions, but one occasion I remember specifically is whenever we send in our tithe to the church, you designate, hey, send this much to the mission fund and things like that. That's just the way our church recommends us do it. So I always put, hey, send this to the mission fund. I did not know this on a Friday. I text my bookkeeper, hey, send this to the church, this much to the missions fund. I forget the exact amount, but it was a very large amount. Had a big sale that week. Okay. Sunday morning before Sunday school, we had a missions committee meeting. Nobody else in the room knew anything about this. We had a church, I believe it was in Russia, that needed to buy a building, and they needed a down payment. And in Russia, the building is very important because of social structures and things like that. The amount they needed was the exact amount I sent on Friday. If you don't think God had a hand from the day I was born to get his purpose right there, you're not paying attention. And so whenever things like that happen, I'm like, when it gets hard or when I want to be satisfied and say I've done good enough, oh no, you're just getting started. Let's go. And the thing about it is, and this is a Slade belief, I don't believe God just says, hey, look, church, here's $100,000 in your bank account. No, he uses his soldiers to get that money in the bank account. And so if you're
it's just a test of your obedience. That's all that is. He can get the money anyway. It's a test of your obedience.
It's his money anyway. So if you are, let's say you say, look, I don't want to work that hard. I want to call it in and do whatever. Well, his will is going to be accomplished. It just may not be through you.
Yep.
So when you see Slade out there sell a big property or win number one agent or something like that, and hopefully I do that again in the future, just remember you should be applauding because we're expanding God's kingdom. And I do every dollar of that, of course, doesn't give it, but I give my share plus some, and to expand God's kingdom and hopefully. I'm confident in what I do, and sometimes I know I don't come across humble. But you talked about something earlier, made me think about this. When I'm on a piece of land, or specifically when I kill a deer or a turkey or an elk or something like that, my immediate reaction, I get so humble because I'm so thankful that I have a passion like this, and it
Yes.
worked out that I can, like, my immediate response is like, oh my gosh, how blessed am I?
Yep. Yep. You
Like,
ever
I
watch that
remember,
Instagram reel that they show? I don't know who first made this, but they're showing someone like touching a deer for the first time. And it says, like, I'm the first human to have ever touched this animal. And I just think, how pure is it that in all of the things that are just jacked in our world, how pure is it that we're able to chase something that God says biblically we are to have dominion over? That he created, that he ordained, that he also created us and ordained us, that we get to be the first person to touch a creature that was formed by God for us.
I've not seen that. That is extremely cool.
I mean, you think about that deer you chased or that elk or that turkey, whatever. The first time you touch it is the first time a human has ever touched that animal. The first impurity it's ever had of a human.
I was elk hunting this year, and it'd been a rough elk trip, and we've had a blast. And it was the last day, and I was like, I was actually sitting a water hole, which I never do. I'm always chasing them, bugling at them, and stuff like that. But we made ourselves because it was windy that afternoon, and I prayed all afternoon. I said, Lord, hey, if you send us one, that's great. But I'm so blessed.
Yeah,
I'm
our
ready to be back
success is
home.
already here.
I'm ready to be back home with my family and whatever like that. But I appreciate if you sent one my way. And dude, 5 minutes before dark, I saw Tynes coming over the hill, and he came down there to the water hole, and I zipped him at 50 yards, and it was a spiritual experience. That's all I
Yeah,
can
man.
say. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, it reminds me of like I don't know if it was Waddell or Jeff Lindsay or who, but they were talking about, I've kind of bargained with God in the tree stand, man. Like, I'll give you credit for this if you just do this, and I'll do whatever I can on that last day of the hunt to bargain. But
Yeah, I think Waddell. I think I heard that Waddell say
yeah.
that.
So Slade, I'll give you an analogy that I've always worn on my own heart that speaks to what you talk about grinding. And dude, to hear you, getting up early like that and being driven. I mean, I was in the gym last night at 9 p.m. I work out with my neighbor now 4 days a week, and we work hard, like hard. It hurts. I'm at the top health of my life, but I'm working hard, and I like seeing the results, and I like being physically fit. And I think it honors God to chase and be great and try to be great at all aspects of our life. But something that's always ridden with me that my listeners have heard me say, and I'm giving this to you as a deposit on your spirit, is I know in my life and in my business and in my family and in my team of employees and in the sellers and buyers that we impact, if I don't go and push and chase what God has put in front of me to push and chase, the blessings that other people are praying for to come into their life won't come if I stop. They won't. The people that Slade has been called to impact, and the buyers and the sellers that are praying for someone who they can trust, who actually knows what they're looking for, and who can actually understand that they have your best interests at heart, and that you'll treat them right, and that you will honor God with what you do with the money. That person who's praying for you, if you just settle at 25 million, you miss the other 75 million worth of people that you can impact. And God, that's real to me.
Oh, it is. And going back, me and you both have kids. What are we showing to the young men and young women that we're not only our kids but other kids that look up to us is, well, man, there's a physically fit guy who works hard. He's taken over I tell everybody I'm trying to take over the world 1 acre at a time.
Yep,
And
I saw that on
he's
your thing. I
doing
love
that,
it.
and then they can say, I can do that.
Yep.
It's not special about Slade. I can do that.
Yep.
And that's what and if you just say, well, I'm just going to get the dad bod and move on with life and just kind of coast till I die. That
Cool
that
story,
don't appeal
bro.
to me one bit.
Yep. Cool story, bro. Man, one of the, and I'm not going to cry today because I'm in too good of a mood, but the biggest thing that if I think about when people say, like, what do you want your life to be? Like, what do you want to be remembered for? Like, what do you want people at your own funeral to say? Like, for me, the biggest thing that keeps me up at night is worrying if I've made the impact that God wants me to make. It truly, and I don't even mean that like missionary wise and bullhorn guy on the streets and, weirdo at the LSU Ole Miss game on the street corner telling you that, you're headed to hell if you're not saved. Like I'm not even fully subscribed to that. I mean, the times when God asked me to be intentional and asked me to go chase and believe and take the risk that he would ordain and do well with. And those are the things that I worry about not doing. I worry about being average because I think biblically that lukewarm word comes up to me.
Nick Saban says it all the time. It's the human condition to be mediocre, and we have to fight that every day. I worry about the same thing. I can go 150%, and at the end of the day, I'm like, I could have done a little bit more. I could have done a little bit more.
Every day, ask my wife when I sit on the couch and I'm like waiting on her to finish dinner or just whatever. If there's 20 minutes, I'm like, gosh, you know what? Nope, I'm going to go do this. I got to do this. And it's like, no, it is okay to stop. Like, it's not in me. I don't have that gear. I don't have it.
And you'll be successful because of that. And if you, and the same, I feel like this also, if I lost or if you lost everything tomorrow, you've got that mentality.
I can
get it all back.
I can get it.
Get it all back.
One of my biggest Christian coaches, business coaches, mentors, a guy named Gary Harper. He's got a program called Sharper Business Solutions. He's basically an executive business coach, teaches you how to put processes and systems into your business to, create a better team and better structure and better culture, yada, yada. Well, one of the things he said when we had hired him in our house flipping company, we had this like 4-day, deep session and building your culture beliefs and your values and writing all your core values down and embodying them. And then process maps for all your team and like all this, like in the weeds stuff. He was like, here's the thing. At the end of the day, it's just money. Everything that we're talking about right now it's just money. And he talked about the time in his life that he lost everything and he got sick with Lyme's disease and it should have killed him. And he just, he lost everything. And he's like, but it's just money. And at the end of the day, the skill sets that we possess, the grit. I had, a guy named Josh Duncan who recently paid $1 million for the shed antlers for the General, the largest. Yeah. Had Josh, he talks about the word grit and like that grit and going out and that tenacity and that insatiable drive to go be great. That's what costs you a lot of time, money, and effort is whether you can have that or not. You'll go get the money because of it. The money is a secondary lag measure to the lead measure of do you have grit. But anyways, you and I have tangents and I'm enjoying these tangents. So we had to take a non-sponsored restroom break, everybody, but we're back at it. Here's where I want to close or put a bow on this land split. We're recreational guys, but we also, because I'm also very guilty, I'm about to put out a really nice 5-acre listing that we just did and spent $15,000 alone putting a driveway and house site into it and all these things to offer a 5-acre tract when everybody's like, but wait, you're the premium whitetail guru. Why are you splitting land? Okay, let's just put a bow on this. What I wrestle with, Slade, and I'm interested in your opinion, is you said it earlier, the guy who's trying to buy 20 acres can't afford your 100. He may want that 100 till he's blue in the face. He may want that 100 and he may cry. And by the way, I've put out podcasts on how to do creative offers and other things. I'll go help you find a way to buy the 100, but let's just stick with the 20. If I don't offer the 20 to the market, potentially you never get the land that you're looking for. The American dream is to own some dirt. If I don't offer it as a 20, you can never buy it. You can love my stuff. You can love the brand we build. You can never buy it if you can't afford it. So how do we win? And maybe the answer is we don't. We just have to know that. How do you win in people's eyes when you say, hey, yes, there's a 500-acre tract that Slade put electric to, and it would be amazing if one guy could own all 500 of that acres. I got a 500-acre tract on our website right now. We're selling this, our home farm, and people are ridiculing me to death about it. You're just a land splitter. Okay. Let's use maybe that one as a case study. What did you do with that 5-acre tract? You offered some parcels, or did it actually sell as 500 acres, or what did you split it down to, Slade?
We ended up buying across the road, so it was 546 acres. All right, the road frontage I sold off in a 26 and a 19 camp / some of them home sites. I also sold a 13, an 18, and a 42 off the road frontage. The 42, of course, good hunting track guy, got a camp. The 13 and the 18 was a spot for one camp and a food plot, and then the Homeland National Forest public ground is a mile down the road, so it's a place for them to launch out of. And the back tracks, the premiums were 83, 85, 80, and 162, and they all connected to the public grounds. So by doing what we did, we gave people, I mean, how many people, a lot of people can afford a $350,000 piece of land, talking about 80 acres or something like that. So he can go buy that place. He can get his young family, or maybe it's his grandchildren, up there to that place to kill their first deer, learn about work, learn about management, and then also have all that public ground to go hunt right out their back door right there. So you're creating opportunities for people that otherwise wouldn't have those opportunities. I mean, what do you want? Are you more, as a sportsman out there, are you more interested in one guy growing more 5-year-old deer, or creating more hunters and more good young men?
Well,
Sometimes we can manage sometimes so far that it's like, hold on now, let's get back to the root of why we like to do this.
100%.
We didn't get it. Me and you didn't get into this because I can't wait to kill a 6-year-old 150 with my bow one year. No, you killed a deer or saw a doe or a 4-point, and you were pumped up about that. Don't forget that. Somebody else is at that point.
Well, and I think it speaks directly to the same person that will argue that hunting land is the rich man's game and we can't even get into it. Okay, but in the same token, when Slade offers a 13-acre tract, and out of a 546, you're going to be the same guy to be like, oh, that's that guy just splitting hunting land up and acts like he's a big hunter, but he's just splitting it up and putting more hunters on 500 acres than there's ever been. How do you win? I don't know that you do. Slade, I'm shedding, it's kind of almost satire here. I'm shedding light to, this is the issue that divides the hunting community. You can't win.
You're not going to win, and God forbid I shoot one with an expandable broadhead, or one of my clients shoots one with a crossbow,
a cross gun.
That's a totally different tangent. To each their own. Me personally, I think grown men need to shoot regular bows. If you choose not to, and it's legal, that is your business.
Can you say that one again? I'm writing that one down.
Yeah, I think that's what they ought to do. And you know why bow hunting is fun? It's because it's hard. That's the whole idea. That's the whole idea. And the easier we make it, I think the less appealing. I think we've done a little disservice. Now, if you decide to do that, that's your business. I don't control that. If a woman, I'll just say women. If it gets more women in the outdoors, I'm okay with that. Call it sexist, call it what you want. Kids, I think it's fine. People with injuries, of course. But
otherwise, I think it should be a season. I think statewide crossbows should be a season. I'll say it in anything.
During primitive weapon season, and that brings us to another topic. So many of these states now, primitive weapon, a 35 Whelen. I watch, the most primitive of all those primitive straight wall cartridges is the 45-70, arguably. It's the most primitive. I watched a client shoot a deer 3 times at 170 yards. He had the bullets in his gun like Quigley. It's a single shot. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, wow, that's real primitive.
Yeah, with a scope, I'm sure. And right. It's just, and this goes into a tangent that we don't self-govern ourselves. And in any body, we don't self-govern ourselves well. That's why you see politics the way they are. But in the hunting world, we don't self-govern either, that we have continued to advance crossbows and the guise of crossbows and the sporting of crossbows. We've just continued to advance the equipment exponentially, but the target, the public resource, the deer, has not continued to advance at all as far as its ability to escape someone who is now lethal at 80 to 100 yards with almost no practice. You've taken gun hunters and put them in the archery season. You've increased gun hunting 4 months.
I call it it's a 60-yard rifle. And there's just so many and first, let me, again, to each their own. Because, I'm not passing judgment. But if I'm in an enclosed box blind with one window open and the ozone going, I've got my rice bran pile or corn feeder at 45 yards, which is a pretty far shot for a regular bow. With what deer can do that. With a crossbow,
at last light and the factors.
A crossbow shooting 500 feet a second, it's not as big a deal. Also, I can put it in a bog pod. If I was going to be a crossbow hunter, I would have a Swarovski with a big tube, and I would
thermal scope.
lighted reticle, everything. And so when that deer comes in where it's still legal shooting light, but it's hard to see my peak because it's cloudy that day, I have to draw with all those, that 2-year-old that's standing at 10 yards, I have to draw with him. All of that is, it's not just a shot. All of that is taking out of the equation. It's just, boom.
Yep. As flicking a safety.
Yep. And
Yeah.
look, to each their own, but I agree. I think it should kind of be maybe its own season.
Yeah, I really do. I think it should be as good of it. Like I'll use Ohio, for example, that there's a lot I think that Ohio gets right. There's a handful of things they get wrong, but a lot they get right. Number one, like today, Slade, is our first gun season. Today is opening day of gun season in Ohio as we're recording this, December 1st. So for the most part, our rut is over with. And this gun season's only a week. And then they have one that's 3 days, and they have one that's like 2 or 3 days after that that's muzzleloader. So there's like
Missouri was like that.
Right. There's like 16 total days here in the state of Ohio. I want to say someone, of course, going to fact check me, but there's less, not more than 2 weeks the entire year to hunt with a gun. And you see that. Well, with crossbows, there's 4 months. We have one of the longest bow seasons in the entire state, end of September, all the way to the first Sunday in February. So you have 4 months of crossbow hunting. You have 4 months of that, but 16 days of gun hunting. That's just wild to me. And Illinois, like I'm going out Thursday for second shotgun. It's 4 days. The first one was 3 days, and then they have like a 2 or 3 day muzzleloader. So you have like whatever, 10 total days of gun hunting in the entire state of Illinois, 10 total days of gun hunting, but we have 4 months of crossbows. It's not reciprocal. It's just.
So our rifle season opens middle to late November, like November 21st, our rifle season, and it goes till January 31st.
So that's the stuff I think Ohio, for example, gets right, is very minimal gun seasons after the rut, all those things. But anyways, here's what I want to jump to, because man, we could jump to a lot of stuff here. This has been a ton of fun. I hope the listeners are having as much fun as we are talking through this. So I had all these things I wanted to discuss, but I actually want to jump right to, you're doing a ton of stuff is home for you Mississippi?
Home is Mississippi. I only live 4 miles from the Louisiana line, which I'm an LSU fan. It's literally right there. And our part of Mississippi is so influenced by Cajun culture. It's kind of different than the Mississippi states. And we're different than them.
Got you. So, but what I have snooped and seen, and you have said since we've been on the podcast here that it's even bigger than I had thought, you are doing some stuff in Missouri, and you said also Oklahoma. What I'm wrestling with right now, and excitedly wrestling with, listeners probably like, yeah, we already know, he talks about it all the time, but I'm doing this same thing in Illinois. We're going to expand to Illinois to buy and sell land. Why did you pick Missouri, and how has that looked for you? And I guess probably we need to back up a little bit, Slade. We've talked about a handful of hats you wear, but the one that I think I'm most excited about is not only are you an agent, not only have you come through with the outfitting background with your family, timber background with your upbringing, obviously being a land agent makes you successful in land yourself, accomplished hunter. But you are also, we're going to slap you with another connotative term that I am. You're a land flipper. You're one of them land flippers. You're one of those terrible land flippers. And he knows I'm saying this all tongue in cheek because I love being a land flipper. What are you doing? What's keeping you busy in a week? Let's just maybe start with that. What keeps you busy in a week out of all the hats you're wearing?
Well, we buy and sell it everywhere. And there's so much goes on behind the scenes, as you know. I've got 2 contracts I'm working on tracks right now that I may or may not get bought. There's contingencies, and there's this, and attorneys and surveys and all this kind of stuff. And
is this for you personally, or these for you that you're representing clients?
No, this is stuff that I'm buying personally. So when a client gets on my buggy and we go riding around looking at properties, what has really set me apart and really helped my career is I've bought and sold more land with my own money than 99.9% of all my clients. And so when I tell a client things, not only about the deer hunting stuff, but when I tell a client things about the land and things that she can be concerned about and not, and how to do things, I've done it with my own money, failing and not failing. And so we need to listen. Something that's actually also helped me in my career, I started buying and selling in Missouri. Which let me start this. Most of my clients who buy in Southwest Mississippi, where I'm from, are from Louisiana. Most. So they're buying in an area that they necessarily don't know a whole lot about.
And real quick, Slade, what do you feel like if you leave your house, what's your average service area size? How far are you driving to show properties that are close to you, in your inner bubble, not Missouri, not Oklahoma, that kind of stuff?
2 hours is very common. 3 to 4 happens, but 2 hours is very common.
So you have a good bit of windshield time like myself.
Right, which is fine with me. I stick these earbuds in and we return phone calls,
Yep.
ride past landowners, place I sold, call them, see what the deer pictures are looking like. It don't bother me to drive at all. But anyway, getting back to the Missouri, so that's an area that I'm not comfortable with. Okay, well, excuse me. I don't know like I know
I know
our
what you
area.
mean.
I don't control the comps. I don't have all the comps, things like that. So my dad started buying up there about 8 years ago. Well, every deal he ever did came across my desk and, hey, what do you think about this? Yada, yada, yada. Send me the OwnX pin or land ID, and we go through it. Okay, well, then one came across, and one of the agents up there texted me and said, hey, if you don't buy this, I am. Bought.
So
And
you were
you
like,
mentioned
heard.
you mentioned God, no, I can't think of his name right now.
Chris?
Whitetail.
Oh, well, Whitetail Equity is Chris Brackett,
No,
but
no, the Whitetail Edge.
yeah. Ben Rising.
Ben. Okay, well, this property that I'm about to tell you, he owned two people after me.
Yep. Okay. I know which one it
213,
is. Yeah, they just sold
213
it.
acres, Humphreys County, Missouri. Humphreys, Missouri, and Sullivan County. Anyway, right by Milan. So anyway, I bought that property, and I went ahead and included a buddy of mine, Ryan Wascom, because we hunt in Missouri, and we had trained assassin television together, and we hunt together anyway. I said, hey, you want to go in on this with me? I didn't need him to go in on with me, but I don't know, it's fun.
Yep.
So it was really cool because it was during COVID, and from his past job, you could take money out of your 401k and do it to this without any penalty because of COVID.
Yep.
So anyway, we did it, and our plan was, hey, we're going to work on it for 3 to 5 years, have fun, and then we're going to sell it.
Yep.
Well, COVID hit, land prices did this, and our goal for 3 to 5 years happened in a year. So we sold it. Since that time, we've sold, 20, literally 20 properties. And we actually have 2 properties in Missouri now, a 196 with a camp and a 310, both really good areas in Harrison County that are essentially paid for by starting and making the jump to buy somewhere I wasn't comfortable. Okay, so if your listeners out there, well, how can I buy in an area and get comfortable with it? First of all, you got to pick an area. I think every area is specific. You got to pick an area. I had hunted this area in northern Missouri already. I follow every land agent up there. I follow their social media. I call them about properties. I find them on OwnX. Why is this one selling for more? I pay attention. And then we just take a leap of faith, and the thing about land, it's always going up. If you buy it for appraisal value and you hold on a little while, most of the time it's going to go up. So it's like a safe investment. And I say this all the time. At the end of our life, no matter how big a pile of money beside our bed, it doesn't matter. But you can't kill a deer or turkey on your stock portfolio. You can do it on land, and you can make money by it. So let's say your stock portfolio is making 10%, but that land only made you 7 or 8. Yeah, but your kid killed their first deer. You had fun on it. You got some stress relief on it. Let's move on. It's safe.
There's so many secondary and fringe benefits from the land. One of my buddies that I had on a while back, I'd love for you to meet Bobby Warner sometime. He's an attorney that is a West Virginia native, lives in Colorado now, hunts in Alabama, hunts everywhere. But same thing. I mean, Bobby's lived an incredible life. I mean, he has had a life that most would just dream of. He lives in Crested Butte, Colorado. I think.
I went snow skiing there last year. I'm going in February,
dude. And
when he either flies into Montrose or Gunnison, which is where I killed the elk, is in Montrose.
Well, and he moved out there to chase public land and do all the stuff that you see and do. Owns like 2,500 acres in Ohio. I mean, he's like, you name it, he's done it. And you know what he said? I wish I could show you just the little clip on this podcast of like all these other investments that you could have done or given your kids when you die and you just have these things. He said, well, it's a piece of paper. You're giving your kid a piece of paper at the end of the life of that 401k or this or that or whatever. How can you measure all the other stuff we can give them if we're buying dirt? and the memories and the chapters and the vision and the thing. How can you, he's like, you can't, it is not even measurable to measure a piece of paper in a stock or a bond or a this or that versus, my 3-year-old needs the chips opened, you know, hey,
There you
doesn't matter
go.
if we're on a live podcast. Everybody, we got the chips opened, but he's like, how can you measure that? How can you cannot measure anyways. So why, you picked Missouri because you hunt there, you like it there. You said your dad had been transacting there. So you kind of started to, have that on a map. How, like in a week, what I'm trying to quantify or dig into in the brain of Slade in a week, on an average week, what I call your land flips, I'm assuming are these renovation projects, kind of like the things I do, where we're buying a piece of land, we're making improvements to it over a period of time. I'd be interested in knowing what is your average period of time, but we're gonna maybe we dive into this phase conversation we were talking about. But in a week, wearing an agent hat, a hunter hat, a land manager hat on your own properties, and then a land flipper hat, however many hats you want to say, is the land flipper hat keeping 50% or so of your time, or where do you think it would fall?
Different times, different levels. If we got a lot of projects go, and we're only as good as the deals we can find. That's why I'm in different states. You can't find
Yep.
a deal. You got to go hunt them.
Yep.
And they're not going to just fall in your lap all the time. They do
Yeah.
sometimes, but they're not going to fall in your lap. Most of my time is being a real estate agent. I would say most of mine. I would probably say in the work time, I would probably say 60 to 70%. I'm part owner of our United Country franchise, which is the number one franchise in the nation. So we got about 40 agents. So we have that there. But also, I have, I don't know, 30 listings of other people that have hired me to sell their place. So I got to work for those people. That's returning all these phone calls and emails. I mean, this is a Monday for me. You see all that red? That's what hadn't been answered since we've been on the phone. But the so phone calls, emails, something I pride myself in. If you call me, I'm going to call you back. If you email me, I'm going to get you the information. And that is not the standard in our industry.
Yep.
You wouldn't believe the people that say, I'm just glad you answer the phone. And I do.
Yep.
I answer the phone, and then it starts at 6 a.m. and goes till probably 9 p.m. And there's times when I turn it off and set it down and say, look, I've got something specific going on with the family. But um, that takes up probably 70% of my time, and that's phone calls, emails, posting on social media. And the cool thing about what I do, everything I do, if it's the Hunt and Landman TV on YouTube or the podcast or anything I do like that, it all goes back to real estate and selling land. It
Yep.
all goes back to it.
So let's jump into these phases. Before we even started, we were talking about kind of like what I do, what he does, and I'm really interested to learn, Slade. What does a renovation project, and that's a fun word, I call it. I think it makes it a little sexier, but in a land flip, let's just use easy vernacular here. In a land flip, what are some of the things you find yourself doing, and what do you let's dive into this phase thing, and how often do you take properties from phase 1, 2, 3, and however many you want to count?
So I think phase one would be I would classify as something we do all the time: roads and food plots.
Yep.
Getting roads and food plots in which is very popular in our area.
And are
It
you
makes
subcontracting a lot of that? If we get into the weeds, are you subcontracting the work, or do you have an internal crew? Both?
my I buy a lot of properties from my dad. He has a crew, but they operate on, and our company pays them. And then I have, if you're a real estate agent, you're kind of playing mayor, so I have to use everybody a little bit. You're running for
Yeah.
mayor all the time. You got to use everybody a little bit. I use this feed store and this contractor and this builder and that sort of thing. So you use a little bit of everybody,
Yeah.
and give everybody some because they're also the guys out there recommending to use you to sell property. So I need
Yep.
that.
Yep.
I need those recommendations. But roads and food plots, most people that grew up hunting on a lease around here on some type of company land or something, they didn't ever have a big, pretty food plot to hunt. So they just had a quarter acre logging ramp to hunt. Well, now we created a 1 or 2 or 3 acre food plot. we were very specific about it, and I sell it like this. Hey, listen, you can come right up this ridge right here, crawl in your box stand, and here's your food plot right here. You can ingress and egress without spooking your deer. The
Yep.
reason we put this here, a lot of times we run power to places. Um, if it needs be, like I said, we've even gone into putting camps on places. I've got a couple companies I work with as far as what camps we're putting on them. I've got
And do you mean like tiny homes or like sheds or both or
kind of like that, kind of like tiny homes.
like
Too bad.
log homes?
No, they're little. Different company makes them. These buildings that people sell on the side of the road that are unfinished out. There's a companies around here that finish them out. 2 bedroom, 1 bath. Get them hooked up, all ready to go. Put a porch on some of them. I've thought about going into level 3 of this, and I almost did it the other day, and glad I didn't because I sold the property for top price in the first week on the market. Is okay, camp, roads, food plots, deer history. Do I go and do I put feeders and do I put box stands, ladder stands? And I'm talking about when they show up, all they have to do is load the gun and go. You
Yep.
know, do I take it that far? I think some people would pay for it. It comes back to a time thing. Like I got to got to spend a day going to get all those box blinds out. I got to do all this. I got to do all that holding
Yep.
costs. If I got $10,000 in box blinds, and I got to keep that property for a look, it eats up your cash.
Yep. People, that's what I get ridiculed about. Well, you're moving these too fast. Well, if I'm going to go in there and force the appreciation, because that's what we do just about every time, Slade, when I'm going to buy a property in like literally today's Monday meeting, we've got 77 acres in an area that's a really, really good area and for big bucks. And we're going to go in there and start tearing this property up. It's all timber right now. We're going to go in there and put in the road systems, not really so much of a cut on it. So we're going to go in and do the road systems, do food plot, do at least one permanent blind. We love to dig water holes when we've got equipment there. So we're always putting water holes close to the food. So there's more reasons for them to be one place. Build those access travel paths, even if we have to hand cut, we build travel paths into the blind so you have perfect egress. Um, scrape trees, like literally the whole nine. Like we really try to lay that stuff out. Well, that's exactly, you just nailed it. Like I don't make any money and I'm holding a property that doesn't have, let's say, cash rent or any other kind of residual income on it at all. So every day that I hold it, I owe more on it. And I use private money with all my deals. I'm using private money partnerships. I'm buying a piece of land. I'm using private money to fund the deal, fund the renovations, and I'm going out and reselling it because I have to. And people are like, "Oh, well, he just buys them to sell." Yeah, because I have to. I'd love to just sit on them
I
all.
use, I use some of it's cash now because we've been doing it so long, but I leverage pretty hard on purpose. I have a good company I work with, Southern Ag Credit, but that's one of the weird things that I think it's going to happen, but it hasn't yet. I hadn't figured out why a guy with $100 million hadn't grabbed me by the arm and said, "Hey, quit worrying about the bank. Let's figure out a structure. Go make me some money."
Yep.
I feel like it's going to happen, but it hadn't happened yet.
I'd be happy to help you raise money, but that's what I was fortunate to be able to do in my house flip career, and a lot of those people have gone with me. And I don't have an unlimited sum, but I do have a handful of money partners that, like the other day, one of them messaged me and was like, "Hey, do you have anything we can fund?" We've got money sitting idle. You know what I mean? They want you to put it to work, and I love putting it to work. I do, but obviously I'm taking on the risk, especially let's say if it's in Missouri, let's say if it's in Oklahoma. Now I'm taking on the risk of I don't fully know a market, but now I'm going to take you with me to a market I don't fully know. We're going to experiment together. Like that's a lot. That's a lot. So I'm always wrestling with every time we get a property, hey, are we going to take this to phase 1 where we just do the road systems and clean up? Let's say phase 2, maybe to me is blinds, stands, feeders, like the whole nine, closer to, in phase 3, which is very rare for me, but we've owned it long enough that we've even got switchgrass fields established. We've got miscanthus established. We've got all the, we've done a select cut and it's now back and clean. Like that to me, phase 3 is to me is always something you could teach the buyer. This is where you're headed. This is where I want you to visualize that you're headed is phase 3. I'm happy to coach you through it. I'm happy to coach you through
I tell my client, I talk to my clients from years past every day. They called me last night. What are we doing here? And it's my passion. It don't cost them a dime. Hey, I'll come out and look. Let's look and come up with a game plan. I have clients call me all the time. Slade, listen, we're getting we're getting a lot of good deer on camera, but man, we can't get anything moving in daylight. Well, let's talk about how you're treating your farm. Okay, you're treating it right. Well, maybe we need to do some cutting. We need to get those deer
Yeah, if
closer
those
to
deer are
your
too
food.
far. Yeah.
Yeah, or a lot of times it's, well, on Thursday afternoons when we get to camp, kids like to go check the feeders and the food plots on the four-wheelers, and then we usually start hunting on Friday
Yeah,
afternoon
we
after
don't know
they've
what
done the
wind it is
four-wheeler.
when they're checking them.
And I'm like, look, that's fine,
But you
but
got to
don't
decide.
expect max. Yeah, you got to decide. Or maybe you have an area. Look, y'all can ride right here around the camp, but we're
Yep.
not going back here because it's. And look, there's nothing wrong with riding four-wheelers and all that kind of stuff around your place. If you do it enough, we're
A
back to the
lot.
Lee
It
County
is.
thing. Do
Exactly.
it a
Yep.
lot. I was in Missouri last week, and the first thing I did when I got there, I got on my tractor and went and mowed some corn and moved the blinds because that don't bother the deer at all.
Yeah,
With that
I did the
tractor.
exact same thing in Illinois last week. I went and hauled my tractor 7 hours just to mow a half acre of corn I bought back from the farmer.
God, I tell you what, that mowed corn is.
It's unbelievable. I mean, I called 3 different DNR agents because this is how fun the Illinois DNR, and I think all DNRs are like this, but I called, and they, first person's like, yeah, you can't do that. That's not legal because you can't bait in Illinois. Like, well, that's not legal to mow corn. Like, well, okay. So then I call another person like, no, that's totally legal. Chicago doesn't know what they're talking about. That's what these locals, Chicago doesn't know what mowed corn is. They don't even know what a cornfield is. Don't talk to them. Like, okay. So I finally get down to the county DNR agent. Like,
Which matters, yeah.
I want you to tell me in text. I want you to verbatim tell me in a text what you just said on the phone to me so I can have it. So that if I put this TV show out and I shoot a deer over a mowed cornfield in Illinois, that the county's not going to be like, hey, that's illegal. Like, not what your agent said. Anyways, so I got a project farm question. I got a question for you that and then I want to get into some faithisms, and we can call this a day because I think you probably got to get to work just like I do. We scheduled this for a Monday, and I'm appreciative he did, but Mondays are tough for
They are.
grinders.
They're my office day, and it's kind of rainy and nasty outside, so it's a good day to do it.
Yeah. So here's I've got this project farm. We have 25 acres that is long and narrow. It's a great hunting farm because it hunts bigger than it really is. It's probably about 80 to 100 yards wide by 25 acres long. So to me, it's a cool piece to me. It has a steep access to the front of it, but then there's like 3 ridge systems that you would get to hunt. Well, there's 1 acre on the front corner that we didn't own, that we didn't get to buy, that someone had owned for years, that had an old trailer on it and has electric, county water, and obviously a septic. So we've bought this skank piece, this 1 acre skank piece. And it's going to have, so I have options. It has a septic there, it has electric there, and it has county water already there on that site. And it will connect directly to my 25 acre piece. Do I, Slade, if you are me, and we're wrestling with, do we just clean this up, make it a nice gravel pad, stub out the sewer connection, stub out the water, just make it painfully obvious. Here's the stuff. There's a brand new electric pole. Life's good. Do I stop there and make this a recreational piece that has the option for you to do what you want? Or do I put in a structure like you talk about and have it either partially finished out or whatever, to where now the buyer, to me, the argument I'll make is that buyer avatar is expanded to the out-of-staters who want to buy something small but have public close or whatever, that now you can come here and stay. You've got a living arrangement now at your small property. Which one?
I don't think there's a right or wrong to this. It's equity and hold time. If it's cash you're working with, so it's not technically costing you anymore. Turnkey sales. Especially out of state guy, he's got to have a place to stay. I like either doing those little buildings like that are movable, so it's somewhere from them to start and they can expand. Also like barn dominiums.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can build, if you can design a 2-bedroom, 1-bath barn dominium with a little place to park your tractor and somewhere to skin your deer, but the plans allow for you to make it a 3-bedroom or 4-bedroom because of the way it's designed. Now, I know that'll sell, because here's the deal. And I don't know if anybody talks about this on the podcast or not, but you're selling to mama a lot of times. Okay. So when mama comes, if she gets to the camp and it's nice and it's clean and it's somewhere where she can sip her coffee while the boys go play in the land's irrelevant to her. You got to have a good place for them to stay. Now, you're not always selling to mama, but in my scenario, mama's saying, yeah, you can do this. Yeah, you can do that. And if she likes the camp and all, it sells. You got to get them. I tell everybody, I said, most of my clients come from Louisiana, and sometimes their husbands come.
Well, I know what you mean. Okay. So, man,
the trailers, you got to tear up the trailer's not any good.
Oh yeah, it is no longer with us. It has ginormous holes in the roof, and it is junk for sure.
There's also something, if you're doing this a lot in this area, I've got a deal, with a mobile home company of staging. You have to get your rules on the front end, how you're going to do this. But if you could stage, hey, look, you've got these $70,000, 1,100 square foot mobile homes on it. What if we brought this and put it on there? If we sell it, you'll get 80 out of the deal. If we sell it, and if we sell the place and they don't want it, your expense would be moving it, and maybe we would split it with you or something like that. Just as long as you're upfront about it, that's an option too.
I love it. We have wrestled with, my team kind of thinks, hey, it's less exposure for us to not buy the structure, but it's more of a clean slate, but all the options are there for someone else to pick what they want to do.
I don't think you'll have any problems selling it with just it cleaned up, looking good, ready to go, because that's a pretty easy sell. I don't know, what's that 25 acres going to sell for? $6,000 an acre, something like that?
Yeah, well, now, yeah. I'd love to see like a 199 list on 25 acres with all the septic, electric, and water. That's kind of what I'm thinking. But man, this is, dude, we're going to have to stay connected after this. I think we could get into some shenanigans together and that we could also write off. So maybe we'll just tickle the listeners' ears that if you're an entrepreneur.
Are you going to be at ATA or SHOT Show?
I actually hadn't planned on being at ATA, but I will probably go. Yeah, I haven't been in many years. I'll probably go though. You going to be there?
Probably. I said I was going to do SHOT instead of ATA this year, but I don't know. ATA is a little easier. It's open to the public after the first couple of days, which is going to be cool. They needed to do something because since COVID, it has died on the vine, man. It's been slow. Back 15 years ago, ATA and SHOT Show was it, man. When we first year we had a television show and we were up for an award at the Sportsman Channel Awards. Oh my gosh. Like we were at the Rain nightclub, Top Shelf, Filet Mignon, all suits. It was unbelievable. And the Golden Moose Awards, God, it was like going to the Grammys or something for rednecks. It was awesome. And I hate that we've lost all that. It's just not what it once was.
That's what I was just going to say. The thing that's been unfortunate as we've watched, I think it's about like for us, we've seen the decline of malls. Now people don't shop in malls, and for the ATA, I think you've seen just a decline in these shows that require public attendance, and it's predicated on this public handshake sales garnering business. That doesn't happen for the most part anymore. A lot of people place orders differently and a lot of people structure stuff differently. So it's been sad to see the decline. I'm very, very interested to see how the public attendance aspect of ATA, I'm really interested to see how that picks it up, because I think it will. Obviously it will. A lot of us were all trying to sneak in back when I was really young. I would always sneak in with a badge of whomever I had worked with, that had the ability to get us there. We would always get in somehow, whether it was, PSE or this outdoor company I'd worked with when I was younger, and a outdoor store close to me at home that was always going. So if you go, let me know. I'd love to connect. I
had dinner this year, early in the year with Bill Jordan. He's Realtree is involved with our, it's UC Hunt Properties powered by Realtree now. And that was kind of my baby. I kind of helped start that. Anyway, so we were at a dinner with Bill earlier this year, and I showed Bill a picture from the SHOT Show in 2000 with me and him in a picture together. We took a picture together. I was 15 years old, and we kind of remade the picture and took it again. But it was in New Orleans at my first SHOT Show I ever went to. I was 15 years old, so it was kind of cool.
Yeah, man, I bet Bill hadn't aged a day in the picture, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That is awesome though. So the last place I want to shift gears to, and then we can land this plane, but I want to hear about your Kansas hunt that just recently, literally I got the notification when Slade and I were about to go live. I want to hear about the Kansas hunt, but if you don't care, tickle our ears with something you've done really well at that I can tell. And last week's guest was Mike Yoder with Drone Deer Recovery. Mike's done a really great job with storying and building content around his brand since day one. As I can tell, he's built a ton of content and built a ton of synergy around his brand, being intentional with content creation from day one. And I think that goes without saying for you. You've been creating a lot of content. You are actively doing this. What does that look like? What is the team that helps you, or, what does that look like from a nuts and bolts perspective? And then land us into, all right, now we're filming this hunt that's just aired in Kansas. Tell me all about it.
So I've got a full-time producer that works for me. So my sponsors, the TV show just kind of breaks even. So
Okay.
my full-time producer, he develops all of our real estate content, the high-end stuff you see on social media. He does that. And then also he does the TV show and films the TV show. And I've gone through several producers. I got a good one now that used to work for Midwest Whitetail. He's a young guy. And then I also have, I'm looking at Morgan. She's my secretary in my office. She does a really good job helping basically anything I throw at her. And then I also have Caleb Armstrong, which is an agent. And he also works for me on salary of, if I'm in Kansas on one of these big deer hunts and somebody wants to go look at a property, boom, he goes and shows it to them. And just allows us to be in more places at one time. It gives me more hour. I'm buying back time, basically.
And your producer's actually aggregating, editing, and building all the content, or do you have editors overseas or
no?
local?
He does it all.
Okay.
And then he does the podcast and all too. And then I have my wife. She also works for me and does a lot of kind of our mass emails and other things like that.
Okay. Awesome. I got to get my wife to come in here and hear that you somehow conjured yours into being able to work with you too.
Well, I brought her home from being a school teacher, so that
it was a trade.
That's it. But right now she's helping at the school for the rest of the year because they needed somebody. So
I know what you mean. Well, we have now the 3-year-old that, just 3 years ago was my wife being back as a baby mama. And we had 6 and 8-year-olds at the time. We had the 3-year-old. So she was past being a baby mama and a little reset there. So we've been really excited now that this one's in preschool. Like, what can we help you dream build to do, now that you're going to have a little bit of your life back? So Slade, it's weird. I haven't conjured her into being interested in working with me again yet, but we'll see if I can trick her into it. So continue this talk track. Kansas just came out. If there's other hunts that come to mind, we can sure talk about them, but I just love a good hunt story, and then we'll leave you be for the day. Tell us about this Kansas hunt.
Well, Kansas is a spot I've hunted for, I think 16 or 17 years. Really, really good area. Same area as a lot of TV shows have done. And I killed this deer 2 hours into the hunt. I did not draw a tag last year. I used to draw every year. And if you've seen Randy Birdsong shoot some of the big deer he shot the last couple of years in Kansas, Randy hunts with me.
Okay.
He did not have any success this year. So with all the rainfall this year, the brush that's usually 2 to 3 foot high in Kansas was 8 to 10 foot high. It's crazy. And the deer just weren't coming to the feed as much as in how we kill them there. And so it made it a little bit harder, which will probably make it better for next year because there are probably a lot of deer that made it.
Yeah.
But me and the guy out there, he showed me pictures of 3 different deer because I told him years ago, don't make me make the decision. Show me what you want shot. Show me what you don't want to shot because you don't shoot 4-year-olds there.
Yep.
Like we passed 175-inch 4-year-old one day. I was filming my dad. Like, you do not shoot 4-year-olds there.
Yeah.
So show me what you want shot and I shoot them. Well, the deer that I liked the most, they were all the deer were right around 160 or so. Deer ended up killing was 157. And I'm sitting there. We're having a good hunt. Quail are going crazy. We get a 3-year-old buck. We're hunting on a ladder stand, and my cameraman's in a saddle behind me. The 3-year-old buck walks in between my ladder and the cottonwood we're in. Like in between us, and then smells right where I tied my bow on to pull it up, and he kind of bounds off a little bit, but he was fine. And it wasn't just a couple minutes later, I looked to my right, and the deer the best looking deer I liked off the camera was right there. He's got quadruple brow tines on the right, really cool frame, just a big, gnarly, cool deer, big old mature 5 or 6 year old deer. And he came up there 23 yards. And I rush shot so bad. I love bow hunting. And that's why I like it so much, because I get so, I don't care if it's a doe, 180-inch buck. I get so excited. And all week I'm like, concentrate on making a good shot. Concentrate on making a good shot. And I did. I heart shot and he ran 80 yards and fell over. And that was it. It was a 2-hour hunt. But going back to other hunts, if people are out there listening and you go to my YouTube page, Hunting Land, man, the hunts around the house mean the most to me because I have my hands on it so much more.
Yeah.
One that comes to mind, I had a deer named Barry I killed 2 years ago. 153 at the house, 5-year-old, which is the best deer I've ever killed with a bow around the house. And passed him at 3, passed him at 4, and there he was, 5. I had 5 encounters with this deer, 4 that I got on video. Most of them were self-filmed. And the cat and mouse with that deer and then the emotion of killing him afterwards was just, it was it. It's what we bow hunt for, and a big old gnarly mainframe. It was an 8-point that was 13 inches wide with split G2s and scored 153. So it just mass.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. That's a stud.
It was a cool deer. And he walked in there and I smoked him, and it was fun. But I got a bunch of them like that. And of course the hunts with the kids are fun. My little girl Asa, she killed a big 9-point we named Tom and Jerry. Jerry's still alive. She killed Tom last year, her first buck, and on a piece of property that I own, that I developed, and the whole 9 yards. And it's just a full circle for me. She killed the deer Friday in front of my house. That episode will come out later this year. We walked out of the house, walked past the swimming pool, 70 yards in front of the stand, crawled up in the stand, and at daylight he was down there at 170 yards, and she shot him. And so how many years of Slade buying and selling and flipping land and waking up early and going to bed late and answering tens of thousands of phone calls got us to that point where my baby girl could kill a mountable buck right in front of the house, and you can't do that on your stock portfolio. It's full circle for me. I'm living a dream every day when that stuff happens.
Yep, for sure. So tell me just one of the woes of content creation and some of the struggles. Can you think of one of your lowest moments when you're having to, like, for me, I've had a lot of deer that have lived. I have not killed near the amount of deer that I'd love to kill. Because number one, I'm a diehard bow hunter. I literally bow hunted in gun season in Illinois last week, and I'm going to do it Thursday. Going back out for second gun to hunt with my bow. So number one has been a lot of deer for me haven't been killed over bow only. Number two, if it's not on film, I haven't killed. And can you think of some low moments in your career of content creation and kind of anything that comes to mind?
It's all a blessing, so I don't like to think there's been a lot of low, but it's sometimes the aggravation of I got 2 people, I got two movements, 2 scents, or I'm self-filming. I got all this extra stuff, and it's the little lows. It's like if I wasn't doing this, and I haven't killed a buck in 12 or 15 years, not on camera. And I've only killed 6 deer with a gun since I've been 15 years old. I primarily bow hunt, and it's just there's not a lot of lows to it because I'm a positive guy. Anybody who hangs around me, I'm positive. We're gonna kill today. We got to hunt hard. Everybody up early. Let's go. We're blessed to be able to wake up at hunting camp or at work and get to do this. So I'm the hype guy. And so I don't. If there's lows, I hike past them.
Yep, I get it, dude. For me, I'm the same way. I'm the eternal optimist. I do a lot of self-filming right now. I don't have a camera guy. It's something that I'm going to change in 26. It's cost me a lot of success. I mean, it's easy to blame one thing or the other, but I'm filming with a mirrorless Canon, really nice setup.
See, I do not have enough confidence to film with the DSLR self-filming.
Right.
I got a little camera recorder, and then I've got a GoPro, and we get it like that. And I don't claim to film Heartland bow hunter stuff, but we get stuff killed and get it on film.
That's my problem, man. I'm trying to film that Heartland bow hunter stuff, and I have had so many times where, dude, that lens system and everything that I love the look of, and you try to film and hunt in the brush and self film, and I'm in a saddle, hanging hunts. It's, dude, there's a lot.
My producer's got a lot of high end equipment, and I mean he films that kind of quality stuff, and it's something like when they can come film, it's a better product, no doubt. It's something cool. I love to watch a self film hunt because I know how hard it is.
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you else. The hardest shot in the world to make is a self film shot
100%.
because you're like when I'm shooting down here in Kansas. Oh, there he comes.
Right.
Take your time. Boom.
Yeah.
Everything. That's the only thing you're focused on. Well, that camera, is he in frame? He's I gotta hurry because he's about to step out of frame.
And is it in focus? And is it good? I mean, yeah, just so there's a lot to it. I've honestly, I'm saying this, I'm public about everything. I'm really strongly considering going to a handy cam setup for my self film stuff just because I feel like I'd be a lot more lethal. I love the look of the mirrorless. I love the look of the content.
You could do
a secondary is what I was going to do. A secondary mirrorless, but a primary handy cam.
Well, I like the way the GoPros and the 360 cams look so much these days. They got a pop, their own kind of pop to them. But I'm going to tell you how you can do it. And what I'm doing, I'm getting to where I like to self film a lot more. I got my system down a little bit better, and I do self film a good bit. But also, like I self film the deer pope I was telling you about earlier. Well, my cameraman's this week and next week, we're gonna build out that episode with the high end stuff. So we got.
So you're going back to the tree and recreating it all.
Well, no, the tree and all is going to be native.
Got it.
But the preparation, which we've already done a whole lot of this, but we'll tie in the loose ends with the area and all the stuff.
I know what you mean. You can put together to tell the story.
You can go look. You can go film a monster bucks hunt, and it's a hunt, and it's fun. It's fun to watch. But I want this is Wilson County. This is the things we did to kill this deer. This is the things that makes this hunt different and made it special. Yep. That's the stuff I want to film with a good camera, and you can do the same. So you may go for a week, and you get your 10 days, and you get your kill. Okay. What's the story here? Let's go fill in the gaps, your story. And I think the audience is okay with you filling in the gaps like that. I don't think anybody wants fake in the tree or hunting, but behind the scenes and what all went into it, I think they're okay telling that story.
Yep. Last thing, because we're bringing you back on no matter what. We're coming on. We're bringing you on after January, after the Slade rut is over down there in the swamps, down there in them swampy bottoms. We're bringing you back on. Here's my last thought and this is an easiest one. How do people get a hold of you? How do people find Slade?
Well, I'm on I'm probably mostly on Instagram and Facebook, Hunting Land Man, or my name, Slade Priest. I'm on TikTok and a couple of other ones, but I'm not on there near as much. Huntinglandman.net. That's me. I own huntinglandman.com, but the website's not working for some reason right now. And I'm easy to get a hold of. 601-888-0094. I answer the phone. I'm easy to get a hold of. I've helped people, land agents, people that want to flip land. My DMs are full of those type of people that I'm okay with helping. Ben Harshine with Hunt Terra Maps works for Whitetail Properties in Southern Iowa. Ben's a friend of mine, and we've worked together a lot on the mapping side. And Ben asked me on a phone call 2 years ago when I started Hunt Land Man TV, or 3 years ago, and podcast, and he said, Slade, you're not afraid you're giving away the secret sauce? And I said, no. I said, let me tell you what I mean by that. What does it take to be in shape? Exercise, eat right, get enough sleep. Everybody knows that, but the world's mostly fat and out of shape.
They won't do it.
I can tell you the secret sauce, and you're not going to do it.
Yep. I'm the same way. And it's, I don't mean this to sound, derogatory to either one of our careers, but what we're doing isn't that sexy. It's not
the bar for excellence is not that high in what we do. People are just lazy.
Like leaving this episode last week with Mike Yoder, and he's now doing drone ag chemical spraying and has skyrocketed that business. And that is a niche that he is exploiting. He is crushing it. And I left that thinking, like, I think I'm kind of a pathetic loser because I don't really do much cool
That's the type
stuff.
of people you got to hang out with,
Dude,
man.
100%.
Look, I could care
I had to
less
stop
about.
talking about it all week. My workout buddy's a banker, and he's always like, "Dude, we got to find something we can broker." Like he's always like, "Let's do something. We just want to broker it. We don't want to own it, man. Let's just broker it." And I was like, "Well, I don't even know how to broker this crap." But Mike's making trailers that are stupid awesome. But yeah, your brain's always thinking. You want those people in the room that push you. And
Well, you don't want to be the guy with the highest net worth or the smartest person in the room. Look, I'll go to a social event and everybody's talking about the Lane Kiffin situation and this and that, which is fine and it's fun and it's light, whatever. I could really care less. I care less more about me and my family. But if you can go in a room, and I have clients like this that have now become friends, that when I go in that room, I'm like, I'm a pathetic loser. I'm not doing nothing.
yep,
They spend more in a month than I'm making that's the rooms I want to be in because they think different.
yep, yep.
And that's how you step it up. And that's how you say hunting's a rich man's game. Well, that's how you can buy the hunting land, is getting those type of rooms.
100%, dude. We're gonna keep this going. I've got to bring you back, and I've begged Slade. He's got to bring me over on his podcast, and I'll talk about Midwest Ohio land and all that kind of stuff. But here's the last thing, and we're gonna land this thing. Can I pray with you?
Absolutely.
And then we'll call it. We'll call this an episode. If you guys have stuck with us, I think it's because this has been a good one. This has been fun getting to know Slade. Let's pray, my man. God, I thank you for today. I thank you for the ability for these kingdom connections that you build, that we just always think in our lives and in our businesses that we are so powerful in building connections. But God, it is literally all you. It is always all you. And I just ask that in Slade's business, that you would exponentially grow and anoint what he puts his hands on. I ask that if you won't honor it, that you tell him that, you show him that, you reveal to him that these are things that you will and will not honor. God, and I believe that in our businesses together, that if we continue to put you first, glorify you with our efforts, that we will see that it is truly your success that you just allow us to have. But I ask that in his life and in his personal life and professional, that he would have an anointing that only can come from you, only can be glorified and accomplished by you. In Jesus' name, amen. Yeah, man. Thank you for being on the Legacy Through Land podcast. I wish that, you had a little bit cooler stuff to talk about. It's not like you're doing anything in land or anything, but one day you'll get there, dude. If you keep your head straight, you'll get there.
Before 2026 is over, I'm going to probably get a piece or two of land sold.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being with us on this week of the Legacy Through Land podcast. We'll see you next week. And that's going to wrap up this week's episode. If you're finding value in this content, we'd love to hear from you. It'd mean a lot if you could share with us how this podcast is helping you on your journey and let us know of any topics you'd like us to cover in the future. Be sure to connect with us on all social platforms at Legacy Acres Land Co. and subscribe to stay updated on when new episodes drop. We hope you've enjoyed this week's episode of the Legacy Through Land podcast, and we'll see you next week.